Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am truly zonked, and I finally know why. It's been a while, and for any of my subscribers who have launched this video and this is not your typical game, I want to thank you for dropping by and checking in on me. It's been about a year since I put out my last video, and definitely gone through some things, and I'll chat up a little bit about that. I don't want to make this video about that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. In any case, Christ, where to begin? So, I've been playing a lot of games. Super fast channel update. Not that I ever meant to be a channel update kind of guy. But yeah, I have been playing some games during the last year, just not as much as I'd really... Where's my gun? Give me my gun. Hello? Yes, thank you. Waking up. So, yeah, no, I've definitely been playing games in the last year since I made a video. Let me see really quickly. I played and beat Elden Ring. That was an excellent experience, although I don't see myself really getting much further into the franchise. I might check out the DLC. I don't know. I played Cult of the Lamb, nearly through to the end. Basically got to the end boss, and if I just tried a couple, 3 more times, I probably would have beaten it, but I just didn't care after playing. I'm like, alright, it's close enough, whatever. But it's a cute, fun game. I enjoyed it. It just kind of wore out on me really quickly. I tried Stardew Valley and did not care for it. The last videos I was making were from The Long Dark, and I really did not care for Long Dark. I'm sorry. And honestly, I'm be frank about it, I just really don't care for the aesthetic. Yeah, no, and I've talked about that before. I will not belabor it. Yes, I'm using homing bullets. We'll talk about that. Anyways, it's... I never set out to be the survival game channel kind of guy. It's just kind of like what I wound up doing to start out with. I still love the hell out of Green Hell. I'll talk about that later. We'll get to everything in due time. Super fast personal update. So, truly zonked. It's a nickname I adopted for myself some time ago because I'd always been just a little bit off. I mean, I didn't know it at first. I basically was being informed by external sources. I'm just an irregular guy, and I came to a point in time where I just ran with it. I owned it. So, but yeah, no, there's always been challenges in my life. I won't get all into that, but long story short, I got diagnosed with ADHD last year. And not to take anything away from anybody, but you know something? I watch these videos about people in their 20s diagnosed with ADHD, and having to basically begin the recovery process, building things back up. And I'm like, all right, you know something? That's awesome, and I'm happy for them, honestly, genuinely. But try being 53 and diagnosed, and then only finally getting a framework to to put things in perspective and come up with an approach on how to manage things effectively. I didn't get them. Oh, it was too far. All right, and we'll get into the Satisfactory very shortly here. But anyway, so I wound up getting prescribed the standard, the usual suspects for medications, and it was like night and day. I tell people it was like the Tin Man getting oiled, and hey, you were not supposed to run away from the bomb. Yes, I'm using nukes. It's quite excessive, I know. Where's your organs? Give me the organs. Where'd the organs go? They must have fallen somewhere else. Did they fall? Oh, there they are. And Yeah, it's like the Tin Man getting oiled, and also a bit like, imagine, let's see, okay, yes, sorry, had to check something. Imagine that you'd been driving with Schmeg on your windshield your entire life, and then suddenly finally cleaned it for you, and you could suddenly see everything on the road significantly more clearly, and things making a lot more sense. So yeah, that's kind of what it was like, and actually, I'm guessing at least a couple of you were probably picking up on this just by watching my videos. I can look at them in hindsight now and say, oh yeah, yep, ADHD all the way. Anyways, not going to belabor that, although I might talk about it from time to time if I start getting into making videos regularly again, because it's sort of relevant. But anyways, so all that aside, we're here in Satisfactory now. This is the game I've been playing the most the last year. Absolutely, hands down, no comparison. Nothing comes close. And I've just been itching to make videos again. And I am just kind of wandering around aimlessly right now while I'm chatting. But I suppose we're going to get on with it. And I wanted to do something a little different than the other Satisfactory videos you may have watched. And that is that, first off, fair warning, I'm not a pretty build guy. I don't have that kind of creativity. I will probably want to do something to make things fancy later on. I personally am happy to have simply grown into something of an aesthetic that's, not completely ugly. And that's really what I wanted to make a couple, 2 to 3 videos about, at least, to start. And that's about my progression in Satisfactory. I read message boards, and that, people still consistently, are joining, the fun, and everybody, hits their own individual roadblocks, and Satisfactory is what I would think of as like an ultimate sandbox game. There's simply no wrong way to play. That's a legitimate fact. And, you can get as ugly or as fancy as you want. There's no wrong... Well, I already said that. I'm repeating myself now. Anyways, this couple, 3 videos, we'll see how long it really takes. I wanted to make kind of about this player's progression. The things that I went through, the lessons that I learned. It's not going to be so much tutorials per se. It's just about my own personal experience with the game and how I grew. And yeah, no, I was kind of deliberately doing this. Yeah, just kind of like sticking around the wild areas and avoiding showing too much of what I've been working on lately at once. You can see it's just a little bit of stuff. So I will give a grand tour. We're going to hit some other stops first. But anyways, yeah, so we're going to go back in time a little bit before we visit this thoroughly. I want to visit a few old saves. I just want to show some highlights, some specific points, and what I took away from them and how I applied that moving on. Also, one of the things I don't see anybody doing any of, and this is absolutely going to be a very advanced player kind of thing, but still good information, I think, for novice or intermediate players. I want to show you some Excel. You may have watched I'm Kibitz or Total Eclipse, mention Excel. I think, Kibitz has even shown some screenshots of his spreadsheets. And honestly, we'll get there. All in due time. So anyways, firstly, we're going to go back. Gotta go back in time. Sorry. Yeah, okay. So, we're going to begin this little rewind, where 99% of everybody starts off Good old grassy fields. Yep. This actually is a stage of a rebuild process I was working on. You can still see the remnants. I had basically everything slapped all over the ground, and I was running into space issues and had not quite grasped the concept of building up yet. Well, I mean, during this rebuild, I was starting to take advantage of building up. Nothing is working right now because this save is just too old, and the recipes are all different. The layouts, you get it. Anyways, so yeah, this is more or less where it started. This is about 60 hours into the game in 2019ish, in there, I forget. And at this point, I was definitely still using coal power, which was all well and good. Oh, no, I went fuel. I did go fuel here. I was running there into our good old friend power shortages. And this is just a little bit before I went nuclear, when that became available. So, but yeah, you can see, how things looked, and my general building approach. Not pretty. I was absolutely more focused on making it run, but absolutely not doing the math. It's just a matter of slapping down more machines and thinking, oh, that ought to be enough to keep me for a while. It had only lasted for so long. So, we're not going to go over this whole part. Moving on now. Alright, so this is a little further into this rebuild, and this was just preceding a very large power outage. This is after they implemented liquids, and you can see I've got these pumped into my fuel generators here now. Again, nothing is running, all the recipes are wrong, nothing is, able to work here. Let's see. At this point in time, yes, everything is ugly. Oh, here. Let's see. There's got to be one around here somewhere. This is also before. Oh no, this one isn't. Did I? This is not before. The vertical lifts. I definitely had the spiral elevators going on. It's we're not going to worry about that right now. Let's take a quick ride down the valley here. So you can see I'm belting and piping various materials down to the bottom here. And what I had done here is when I did eventually go nuclear, oops. Hey, come on, level out. Thank you. Started small, would you believe? And this also was just after they implemented requiring water for the nuclear reactors. And the thing is this is also at a point where all the energy generation machines were load-based. So basically, they would only kick on for as much load as you needed. They changed it later on, where everything basically, with the exception of the biofuel generators, thank you, those are still load-based, but everything else began running at 100% capacity and 100% output, regardless of the load you're placing on them. But this save is not from that point. Any case, what I'm getting to here, alright, so I was not great at piping water yet, and but what I had done here was I had one pipe of water that basically I was splitting between 3 generators, and this became a problem because I started using, it was too much load, and it started sucking down. Am I? Oh, that's right. I don't have my hazmat suit on here. Yeah, I was not paying attention. I was not dividing things out. I was not making sure that things had enough resources, and I was paying the price for it. Also, what I was doing is I was not creating separate electrical grids. Becomes very important later on for making things running. So this save is immediately preceding a grand failure that I had, and the recovery process, which is actually one of the things I'm building toward. So, but we'll get that. Get there. Just popping in again, showing really quickly. Yeah, it's dangerous in here. Let's get that put on. All right, thank you. Oh, effing spiders. Yes, and by the way, folks, I will not be using arachnophobe mode. Reload, come on, quickly before he jumps. Stop it. Oh, do I have nobelisks here? That's my detector. Do I not have the novel? Here we are. Thank you. Oh, you guys are pissing me off. Alright, we're just going to throw down a bunch. And, are they pushing the car? They're pushing the car. Alright. I know that didn't get all of them yet. Or did it? Did they all run through it? Nope, they didn't. Oh, you guys are... Hold on, folks. By the way, I'm not pretending to be great at this. I see one front of this spot. Alright, we got him. Okay, finally. Thank you. Anyways. Yes, so this was my initial... That's not a guts... I don't need to be picking things up here. I'm not keeping this safe. This was my initial nuclear manufacturing facility here. Manufacturation, I almost said. Okay, Kush. Anyways, so, and I was absolutely, you know, this was also before there was any kind of disposal in the game. And basically you had to store and keep, you know, your nuclear waste and deal with it. And I will show how bad some of the radiation got, but not. I'm not going to do it at this stage. It's just not worth pointing out at this stage. We'll show it when it gets worth pointing out. But yeah, so you can see I've got some containers set up here. Nothing really big yet, you know. I hadn't really started scaling up and really dealing with the aftermath on that. So we will get there. So, but anyways, yeah, and you can definitely see, you know, you've seen my radiation meter jacked up there. And the whole idea was I wanted to pump out as much as possible nuclear, the uranium fuel rods, and actually that was a mistake. This is not a good strategy. And I'll explain why in a bit, but we will get there. So anyway, yeah, so I ran into a problem with my water supply and had an outage problem. It was a trick to restore. Moving on. Alright, so I thought I'd stop and highlight this really quickly here. Let's watch out for these boys here. IGP had done a couple of videos for Satisfactory some time back, and he didn't really stick with the game, but, you know, he gave it an honest go. And this is what he called a derp ladder. And you know something? That's exactly what it is. This was an attempt of mine to try and do some gravity-fed water. That being, I've got water pumps way up top there, and I had to bring this down. This is actually my first large-ish structure. Again, not pretty. And it's basically just one big, long platform that's supporting the belt, or pipe rather, pardon. And that, stop it, you're pissing me off. Anyways, yeah, and you know something, I'm trying to recall the zigzags. I can't remember if the pipe mounts were angleable yet. You can tip them forwards and backwards now. I don't remember if they did that then, or if I simply hadn't picked up on it, which is also totally possible. So anyways, let me get back. I just wanted to stop and highlight this. This was lame. Moving on. Okay, so we're here. This is where I was trying to get water from to provide down to grassy fields. It was a novel effort. An attempt was made, as they say. Also, I should point out, this is about 500 hours into the game, and January 2020. So, for a rough time frame. And you can see I've done a little color coding at this point. And that's something I've really tried to use. It gets more intricate as it goes. But these basically are the water pumps that I had to put in to supply the nuclear reactors correctly. So these green pipes are basically all going down. Also, you'll see there's whoops, hello. There's no Mark II belts, or pipes here, rather, because they just didn't exist yet. Anyways, what I'm getting to is that I had an outage because I wasn't getting enough water to the nuclear reactors, because I was still trying to divide the amount of water I was pumping down. Actually, this is when I was trying to recover from this. The issue was I wasn't pumping enough down. I wasn't piping. I just didn't have the capacity to support them all for the load I was demanding from out of the reactors, so they kept shutting down. And I kind of wound up in a bit of a catch-22, again, not isolating my grids, and the problem became that so I had to build more water pumps to pump the water down, but I didn't have the electricity because I had an outage. You know, you see I'm not at this point at this exact save. And what I had to do was I basically had to build some an auxiliary power setup. Had to frickin' slap these down, run around collecting a bunch of leaves and logs and things, and manually made some biofuel to make just enough electricity to power the water pumps, to then pump the water down to the nuclear reactors so that those could come online and bring the rest of the factory back up. And then I disconnected this. So this became an important lesson to me. It's don't put all your eggs in one basket scenario. Keep your grids separated. Make sure you've got some auxiliary power of some kind for backup purposes. And we'll get to that. I'll explain to that more later on. So yeah, this was a thing that happened. Let's see, where's our next stop in time? Okay, so we're back at the Grassy Fields location. Quick correction, I said I was at 500 hours before. I was at 200 hours. My goof. At this point in time, I am at approximately March 2020, and at this point it's like 490 something hours. Alright, so that is the correct time. Anyways, yeah, they gave us glass walls, and I built this because mostly because I felt I got annoyed with constantly just skirting the edges of the poison gas, and so I just decided to find all the borders of how close I could get and just wall it in. It looks neat. It's kind of like a little mini zoo environment. There's nothing in it but the rocks, but whatever. Any case, so this was my first major rebuild project here, and basically what we've got going on is this was my first attempt at a bottom-fed design and something resembling an aesthetic. I had gotten some statues because we got the ticket system in here. Let's try and see if I can get up these a little bit. And basically the whole idea was starting with the simplest parts at the lowest levels. They would make their, like here we're turning ore into ingots, of course, and they would send their parts up to the next level where we make the the next tier of parts. Here's plates, etc. You get the idea. And this was a stacked design. Let's go to some higher levels here. You'll also notice I have no stairs. I just wasn't using them. All my builds really have become flight-centric. There's no catwalks. There's no stairs. There are some hypertubes, but we'll get to that later. It just wasn't quite such a thing for me yet, but I did get there. Did I build it over there yet? Alright, not going to worry. Again, you can see things are starting to become kind of a mess. Even though this was an effort to neaten things, and technically speaking, was successful, but it's all relative, right? And yeah, so these were some of my first big builds. What was I trying to build here? What's this one here? High-speed connectors. I think this is the radio control units. We had turbo motors over there. And also what we should see, and I don't have blade runners. That's why my guy is running. Sorry, girl. She is a girl. Our Pioneer. Did I? No, I did not yet. I didn't make my mass storage build yet. Oh, no, I didn't. It's over there. An early, auto sorting mass storage. Yeah. And it's, it was good. It was good for a while. But like everything else, it just started getting out of control. Let's see, where to next? Okay, so this was my first, really ambitious build. It's finally starting to get into numbers and trying to, actually plan. Come on, get over it. Where's my, am I not wearing, put it on, oh my god, this guy. So, wait a second, am I, hold on, have you on? Huh, my jetpack isn't working. That's okay. Come on, I'm trying to record a video here. So, yeah, as I was saying, this was my first, really ambitious build, and, okay, now it sees the fuel, right? Okay, weird. My first ambitious build, actually starting to pay attention to numbers to make sure I've got the right amount of, in this case, water extractors, getting the necessary amount of water, pumping it poorly. You can see everything's still Mark 1 at this stage. Anyways, and the idea here was I was bringing in Kyrium ore and copper ore. And this became, I called it Kyrium Town, or Cat Town for short. The whole idea was I wanted to make the most amount of Kyrium ingots I could with the ore that I was bringing in. And I think I brought in 2 or 3, maybe 4 Kyrium nodes, pure Kyrium nodes worth of, Kyrium. And basically said, okay, if I'm bringing in this much ore, how much can I make out of this? This was also a change in my strategy in that there's no power shards here, or very, very few power shards. I was running everything, basically so many machines, I just didn't have the power shards to spread around. So I had to build out machines to just make what I could at 100%. There are a few here and there at this stage of the game where I'm just using it to bump up, when you need 30.6, refineries or something like that for random numbers. And you just need to make that 0.6. I would just make the last one boosted to 160%. And this goes up. I won't bother you with the whole thing, but basically, it's making Kyrium, it's a quick wire, there's copper ore up there, or like copper wire, cables, etc. And it was a good experience. It was a learning experience. It was good practice. It was not great. It worked. Everything was fine in the long run. It's just hadn't quite tweaked my technique yet. There's something else in this save. Oh, by the way, this save is a full year on from the last point we're at. This is March 2021, and we're at 900 and change hours in this game. All right, so now this is not where I really wanted to show you, at least not yet. I mean, well, blah, blah, blah. Babbling. Anyways, fast forwarding to the next thing here. Actually, just another digression. We're going to take a quick other stop. There's one other thing I wanted to show you before I show you the thing I wanted to show you. This is a long hypertube. I was not doing the hypercannon thing yet. Actually, at this time of the game, I had been using a mod, Power Suit, which is an excellent mod. I just wound up quit using it, though, because every time that there was an update in the game, the mod would break, and, you know, no criticism. I get, you know, modders or volunteers, you know, they do it for the fun of it, and, you know, there's no obligation for them to fix things, you know, super fast, you know, or, you know, they're not on any deadline, but the thing was, it would take the guy a while before he fixed the mod, so I just kind of, like, gave up using it. But at this point, the mod had been installed. I just don't have it loaded, and we'll talk more about mods later on here. Anyways, we're going to my plastic and rubber factory, and I want to show you this. Okay, so yeah, and that hypertube is a little circuitous. It's just the way that it came out. Trees have respawned since I've last loaded this save, so ignore those. And here's where I really... Oh, someone's playing some music outside. A debt. You know, inspiration to I'm Kibitz. And, you know, one that he inspired me to build big. And actually, you know, we see that in, you can see Kyrium Town down that way over there. And it was absolutely from, you know, watching his videos, I just, you know, said, you know something? I can do that too. But here's another thing. So here is a plastic and rubber plant. And do I hold on. Where's my cart? I don't have it yet. Alright, so I was looking for a factory cart. Oh, that's right. I gotta build it at a freaking... Hold on. I want a cart. Okay, so now also bearing in mind this was created at a time when the recipes were different. So two things here I took from Kibitz. One, and he only did this in one video, and I thought this was such a brilliant idea, and I took it and ran with it. One of the things that I tried to establish in my builds after a point, and it would definitely incorporated it into the first big rebuild, the upfed factory, was I wanted everything off the freaking ground. I got tired of running around belts and pipes and things. I just have everything blocking my way when I'm trying to run around my factory. And so that was like one thing that I had started to try to incorporate. And Kibbs did one video where he was building machines on these platforms, and he was able to get everything up off the ground. And I just said, that's exactly what I need to be doing. And this was my first build where I really put this to work. And you can see some hokey attempts at load balancing going on here. It is not the important part right now. So that's the first part where you can see that, you know, I took something from Kibbs and I kept this strategy. I still use it now, and I'll show you more of that later on. In any case, the other thing is he had showed me the recipe, showed us, the recipe of taking the efficiency of taking crude oil, turning it into heavy residue, turning it into fuel, and then using that fuel to power the recycled plastic and rubber recipes. Because you can basically take those and keep doubling the amounts of plastic and rubber that you're producing as long as you have enough fuel. And so this was a first attempt to, again, try and do this completely load balanced, absolutely doing this with all the math and creating exactly the correct amount of machines. And I start off at one point, let's see, is it here? It's not important. Oh, that's right, I had these split across multiple levels. Hold on a second, let's get back to the front where my packages are. Wait, up to here. And... okay, this is a better floor to show. So basically what this whole thing started off with is that I would have one factory, one refinery that is. Starts off with plastic, takes 30 plastic per minute and turns it into 60 rubber per minute, right? And stuck. And that plastic comes out and gets delivered to two refineries, gets split. These split, and they take the 30 rubber per minute, turns to 60 plastic per minute, outputs those, and takes those, so it takes those two, and it takes those and passes it along to 4. Whoops. So it's taking the plastic, turning it into rubber, and so on and so forth. And basically, what I wound up is with 20 refineries and some some intricate delivery and load balancing. It's actually not that intricate. It's just kind of a mess. I wound up with an output of 300 rubber and 300 plastic per minute, which was excellent for my needs at the time. And also, there's a little recovery going on the side, taking the polymer resin and converting that into some residual plastic and rubber. And this was very good. This worked for a long time. And that recipe pattern I still use presently. This build actually is from a period when there was no just straight liquid fuel yet. You could only create packaged fuel. And so I had to go through this process of creating the packaged fuel and running it through the unpackagers, turning it into just liquid fuel and piping it into the machines, and then recovering the empty containers and sending them back to the machines producing the packaged fuel. And it worked really well. It did. But and also, yes, sorry. So this is what I would call one module. This one floor is producing 300 each, plastic and rubber, and there are 4 floors producing this. We won't go through the whole thing. Trying to keep this short, relatively speaking. But so yes, there was this. Okay, so platforms and I call it Plasmax. I'm maximizing the amount of plastic I can build, and that's my nickname for this build. So now, the thing I wanted to show. Okay, so you can see we're back in the uranium cave. That's down the valley from Grassy Fields. And you can see my radiation meter is already way jacked. And this is something that I stopped doing. So at this point, basically, I am stockpiling uranium fuel rods. Seriously, you're going to do an autosave now? Hold on. Okay, continuing. Yeah, this is unnecessary if you're smart about it. Sorry, it's just no other way to put it, but we'll get to that. Yeah, there are ways to not do this here. Come on, get off. Thank you. And you can see also I had to build myself a much larger storage array for the uranium waste. This is still in the game. Hold on a second. Let me... sorry, I had to stop and look something up for a second. Oh, I got itchy back. Yeah, March 2021, 900 plus hours. And you can see now, again, I'm running mods. So these, it shows you, how full these containers are. And the other thing I wanted to show, so hold on. Oh Christ, I gotta get away from the radiation. I don't have that many filters on me. 1 second. So this at the time is my radiation footprint. It's very big. And you can see I had started, so at this point in the game, I had actually 12 nuclear reactors running. And same strategy on both these areas, that all my nuclear production and waste storage is in the caves underground. The problem became is that there was still so much radiation that it would radiate up from the cave. So even if you're walking above the ground, over where the radiation is, you're still taking the radiation hit. And this was also, I was prepping for an update because I knew the waste disposal was coming, and I had plans to take full advantage of that. But even one more stop before we continue on. This led to, sorry, let me back it up a little bit. ADHD. I was absolutely still running into an issue with bumping up against the limits of my power. I was not having continued outages anymore, but I was really pushing the limit. Maybe not in this exact save, but I got there. So between the 12 nuclear reactors, and I had switched completely over. I had no more fuel I had no more fuel generators or anything like that going, 100% nuclear, and the radiation was just becoming a problem. But I was still advancing with my my strategy of doing maximization of recipes and trying to build bigger and better, and it led to my first mega factory. I mean, there's factories, and then there's factories. There's small, medium, and large, and there's mega, and you could even say giga factories after a point. But anyways, yes, this led to my first inspiration for a mega build, and that's well, let's get over there. Hold on, I'll show you. Okay, and maybe I didn't pick the best vantage point, but this is my first mega factory build. And the idea here was I was going to take, and this part did become a central part of my strategy moving on. The idea was, what I got into my head was like, okay, the fastest belt speed, basically the highest speed bottleneck we have in the game is the Mark V belt at 780 items per minute. You just can't get faster than that. I mean, yeah, you can put down multiple belts, but as far as a single belt, that's your bottleneck, 780 parts per minute. So, okay, go get them, boys. So I got it into my head, what if I were to take one solid feed of 780 uranium ore per minute, one fat belt of uranium, how much can I turn that into, how much uranium fuel rods can that be turned into, leveraging the efficiency of alternate recipes, and then how many nuclear reactors can I support? I'd put those two down just for a test fit, because the problem is, at this point in the game, the recipe that I came out with, or the sequence of recipes, I should say, and the amount of machines required, I think it turned it into like a 780 belt turned into like able to support 260 or something. I would have to dig up the old spreadsheet, but yeah, it was like 250 say plus nuclear reactors, and of course all the water that goes along with that. So that's why I built out here, and I got about 2/3, maybe 3/4 of the way through my build. I broke down all the recipes. You can still see I'm doing my elevated builds here. Everything's nice and up and off the ground. Everything's like walkable, navigable. This is also before we had ceiling posts, so I'm using my workaround of just floating walls in the air. Anyways, yeah, I got about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the build, and then they changed the recipes. And I was like, oh, fuck. All of that work. I just didn't know. I knew the update was coming. I just didn't know that they were going to hit the recipes the way that they did. I'm not demoing the whole, thing. But anyways, the reason why I came out here was the idea was I was not going to pipe all the water required for all of those reactors. My idea was simply I'm just going to build over the water and have the direct the water extractors directly beneath me, and build the plants directly above them, and save myself some headache that way. And actually, that became a primary strategy moving forward. It just didn't happen here. They changed the recipes, and even aside from that, after I did that test fit for those nuclear reactors, I learned, and I forgot why I chose this area, but oh, that's right, because I was going to get I was going to use a train to bring in the uranium ore from the waterfall cave over there down here. So that was going to be my primary uranium source. Even then, I still had concerns about that. So, but yeah, basically, there just wasn't enough space for all the reactors. And then they put in the update, and this build was halted. It just... And I honestly, I was a bit butthurt by it. I really was. I stopped playing the game for about 8 months before I circled back around to it, and started coming up with new strategies. So, but I did get back to the game and continued, and I wound up doing a complete mass dismantle of this whole thing. And it's not important what I built here afterwards, but the next update brought around the uranium waste disposal, and that's what I wanted to go on to next. And basically what I was getting to is I finally added in waste disposal. Now, this is not a great stage. I think this is partly an issue because I haven't fully implemented things yet. It is disposing of waste. It was slowly working away at the storage that I had there. I thought I had loaded up something farther along. Also, really quickly, this particular save is October 2022 and about 1,100 hours. Not quite 11, say 1,060-ish, I think it was. Not important. Anyways, so you can see, though, these columns of storage containers at that time, the previous point that I showed this here, sorry, were all full, and it has been slowly chipping away, and it is destroying. And let's take a quick look. So I was able, between these 2 points, to get my radiation footprint down from this to this. And you can see things are still not great, but particularly out over here, where my secondary plant setup was, significant improvement over there. I continue to have snafus over here though, and I was able to get it eventually. To this, and now disregard this over here for a moment. I'll explain that in a bit here, but you can see it's like, oh my god, what radiation exactly? And actually, if we zoom in, See, the radiation is there, and actually, the bulk of it is where the plutonium is generated, pre-disposal. But even down here, there's like nothing going on. In any case, so this I was doing. Now, like I said, I was definitely still running into power limitations, and even though the recipes had changed, and I got over, my heartbreak about the recipes changing and rendering that massive build futile, I still wanted to do that one big build, that 780 belt line, and how many reactors could I support? And so that led to Nuketown. But before we go to Nuketown, a quick stopover at the Battery Blaster, which is alright. So I had to disable a mod for the sake of playability and recordability. Oh, hold on a second, my fan is going. I gotta shut this off. Don't need the ruffling in the microphone. The efficiency tester mod, freaking indispensable, also causes problems. I had put the efficiency checkers on belts and pipes throughout the game, and it took a while for me to notice, and then took also a while to catch on to exactly what was causing the issue. But they were adding serious performance, lag, and my FPS was going down, and it was becoming very difficult and very miserable to play. And eventually I did figure out what was going on, and I still use the mod. I just only use the handheld tool. I don't use the belt-mounted or pipe-mounted checkers anymore. So, anyways, the Bat Blaster. Part of the strategy for Nuketown was that, okay, I was still going to use one solid belt's worth, 780 uranium ore per minute, and see how many uranium fuel rods I could create, and how many plants I could support with it. But I changed my mind. I wasn't going to use the trains to transport the uranium anymore. I wanted to do it by drone. And the whole thing was I didn't want to be running around the world and have to cross the radioactive belt. Not that it's that big a deal. You can wear the hazmat suit in addition to the jetpacks and everything now. It's just all part of the fun of the game. I decided I'm gonna fly the uranium by drones, and drones need batteries, lots and lots of batteries. So this is not showing it off well right now, but this did work actually originally. It's just not displaying it right now. Basically, the idea was that I was going to create one belt's worth of batteries. And actually, it's not working correctly at the present moment. That's it. I wound up rebuilding this. We may or may not stop over at that. I'm just syncing these at the moment here. But this was Bat Blast 1, the Battery Blaster. Bat Blast, yeah, right. And this guy up here, there's a drone assigned to this port, and his whole job was to deliver batteries to... Hey, what? Yes, I did try implementing trucks, too, with varying degrees of success. Actually, I don't know why he had a hiccup there. That's hilarious. And zoop, back on your way. Right on. Okay, continuing. So this is supplying batteries for the drones that are flying the ore in the Bat Blast, or the Nuketown, sorry. This was because I also had implemented... Ooh, watch myself here. Where's my... I got another... hold on. Let me get over there. I had actually built up a whole infrastructure. So I've got trucks over here that are bringing in aluminum ore from... aluminum ingots from an aluminum ingot factory in the Titan Forest. But I needed fuel, and I wasn't going to use expensive batteries to power the the trucks. So I built a turbo fuel factory, and actually you can see down underneath here, this fellow is actually bringing in turbo fuel from the turbo fuel factory, and there's a series of these guys, and they deliver the turbo fuel that then fuels the trucks that are shuttling in materials from the other factories I've got starting to build up here. You can see in the distance I had a new Plasmax built up. Not that you can tell that that's what it is from here, but that was a new attempt to capitalize the maximum amount of oil to plastic and rubber. That factory worked well. Yeah! Ow. Get up, you schmuck. There you go. And you'll see what I'm getting toward soon. We're going to wrap this up shortly here. First things first, though, so that was the Bat Blast. Let's get down to the, to Nuketown. Give me your dirty love. I actually did build a hypertube launcher to zap me over there, but you know, driving's more fun. My roads at this point are ugly AF, and that also became something new that I started trying to build up a series of modular road components, including the ability to add inclines and curves, and even curved inclines on a modular level, and it mostly worked in one direction. We can talk about that later. Now, this roadway here is for, and we'll get to it, but the intent of Nuketown was I wanted a completely self-sufficient, and it didn't start off immediately that way, but that's where it got to. Completely self-sufficient factory, making 100% of the items needed to support all those uranium fuel rods, and then the disposal of the waste of, of course, in one location. I didn't want to, have multiple factories. That was becoming an issue, and I'll explain more about that later. But I didn't want to have at least this factory dependent on supply from other factories. We'll get to that. So, at the present time, he's bringing in some, what are we bringing in here? Aluminum heat sinks. That's right, the heat sinks. Yep. All right, let me get over the rest of the way over here. Hold on a second. Basically, I don't know what the formal name of this the biome we're going to is. I just call it the North Sea. There's probably a different name, but whatever. Hold on, getting there. Now, things... Do I have this running presently? I do. We are running. Okay. I wasn't sure if I had this running in this save. And also, yeah, no, I've enabled flight for the time being because you just need it after a point. And we could talk about that. So anyways, this is Nuketown. This is a soup to nuts factory, or at least it became. There was a few items I left off. The original start was for all the items needed for the uranium fuel rods. Everything is made 100% here. And this was, again, with the strategy, we are building directly over the water. So basically, I don't have to pipe very far at all. All the extraction is done immediately under our feet and goes up. Hold on, we'll try and do this in some semblance of order here. The water comes up, and over here and I won't go into all the calculations. Now, this is not running presently. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the mod, the efficiency checker mod I had built in, and what happens is if you load your save without the mod, it puts these gaps and basically breaks the flow of everything. So I'm not going to try and point it out here, but let's see. Are there any of the gaps present, visible? It's not important. The gaps are there, and stuff stops. So anyways, and this was absolutely an exercise. I mean, a labor of love and a practice run, but I made all the copper ingots, the Kyrium ingots, the quick wire, the steel products, concrete, everything, the sulfuric acid. What do I got in this one here? This is, oh yeah, the quartz crystals, and then it goes up. Now, here's where things kind of get a little more interesting. So, up to this point, this had been my primary build strategy. Basically, I just like slap a floor in. I started using the 1 meter floors because they would give me just a shade of extra headroom. And trying to arrange the belts was getting persnickety, shall we say. It was mostly working. It was good. You know, I was getting neater with my build. You know, the layouts kind of started getting weird, though. And I was having greater and greater difficulty trying to pack things in, get things where they needed to be, get stuff past an area it needed to get past in order to get to where it needed to go, etc., etc. And I started winding up incorporating these partial floors to go above the machinery. But you see, I didn't leave myself quite enough room, and you know, things would start clipping. And you know, I'm okay with a moderate, you know, amount of clipping. After, you know, it's only to a point though, and I wasn't feeling great about it. And you see what happened over here is this is all the non-reactive construction for the uranium fuel rods. Everything that's, you know, completely safe to walk around. And then you take all the products that were required from here, and they go out this way. And now here's where we've run into the radioactivity, which again, I'd started with a new strategy for. We'll talk about in a second. But where does it show the best? Basically, I got to a point where I just started I'm like, you know something? Fine. I'm just going to build in a whole additional floor solely for belts. Belts, pipes, just, you know, logistics floor, they call it, right? The thing was, it's like, the idea I implemented partway through, you know, this build. And I don't even remember how. This was like 3 months or more of assembling and tinkering with. But I want to show you this. This is, I was really proud of this. This ran, and I'll have to pull up a later save. In fact, you know something? I'm going to do that right now. Hold on. Let's get to a working save. Okay, so this is a point in the game. We've come much further along now. We're nearly to present. This is February 2023, and just a shade under 1,800 hours. All right. I'm not saying my advancements were fantastic. You know, they took me a long time, you know, tinkering back and forth, but I get there. The improvements were definitely being made. So, and actually, I'd forgotten I had done this. So, Nuketown, I expanded because I got tired, again, of the interdependency. Because, all right, here's what I'm getting to. Nuketown was a success. It was providing all the electricity I could ask for. And what I had originally intended to do was start tearing apart all that old stuff we've just been looking over and start building up newer, slicker, you know, factories in their place. And I started to, and I kind of hated it. I just really didn't like it. I just, you know, I got to a point, it's just like, I didn't want to rebuild I wanted to rebuild all of it. Anyways, so, one of the things I had done was to cut out the interdependency of the other factors, because at this point I hadn't decided yet that it's going to destroy everything. But I knew I wanted to break down some of the factories, but I couldn't break down some of them because Nuketown was dependent on them. So I had to build an annex to make up for the parts that were being brought in by truck from other factories. And so now at this stage, absolutely 100% self-sufficient. I forgot I even did this. I even went so far, I piped in oil and sulfur extra to make one solid pipe, 600 turbo fuel per minute, and as many generators as I could power from that, run from that fuel. And this is used to run the factory that is making everything. So right now, this is not even dependent on the old nuclear factories as it was before, or even dependent on itself. All this factory here right now, right all the way up, to through the disposal, is 100% running from that plant of turbo fuel generators back there. That powers everything here. This save also, I have fixed the absence of the efficiency checkers, so everything is a moving and a grooving, as Mr. Kibbs is prone to say. Let's see, I'm not even bothering to recover some polymer resin there. We got some fuel going on here. This is plastics. And let's see, yeah, because, right, this part is the annex, right? This is making the rubber that I needed for the heat sinks, and the heat sinks, and the aluminum for the heat sinks, all being made here. Here we've got our copper ingots going out, and what else? We got our steel running. Now, at this point, I haven't quite, let me see, do I? Yeah, now I was working towards what became a later goal and is now a standard of my strategy, and that is that I use no power shards in my factories. The only power shards I'm using now are on miners and extractors. Not even the water extractors, though, but like oil extractors, resource wells. Those will be overclocked, but my factories, not from this point. And but I did want to kind of show you this because I really, really enjoyed this part. So anyways, so this is running 100%. What am I making? Hold on. Let's see. What's our power output? One second. Let's just slap a pole down here. Come on. I can't click on it. My God. Thank you. So, right. Now, I do have my original nuclear power plants still in action, so I'm making a total of 254 gigawatt. And you can see my maximum is only approaching half that, and my current consumption, barely a quarter. Not even, Jesus. Anyways, so, but this is where I also was really starting to incorporate load balancing properly, and part of the strategy for Nuketown became, and I got better at this. This didn't apply all the way through. So you can see very radioactive here because we've got a drone port stuffed full of uranium. That part aside, though. So anyways, all these ports bringing in uranium combine into one belt, one solid belt. And let's see, where's my, do I have my, hold on, that's not what I want. Give me my efficiency checker. Let's put that in place here. No, what are you doing? Oh, that's not the efficiency checker. Did I not make it here yet? I might not have made it here yet. I don't think. Okay, it's not important. That's a 750 belt. Anyways, or 780 of uranium. 100% capacity, never stops flowing, doesn't miss a freaking, an item. And this is absolutely 100% load balance in here. And I love this. I'm sorry. I was really pleased with myself the way this came out. It just looked so much better than I had even anticipated to. And the idea was to have all the manufacturers here that are making, what are we making here? I'm forgetting the encased uranium cells, are using that solid belt of 780 parts per minute uranium at a 1-to-1 ratio, 100% efficiency, absolutely no unnecessary accumulation of radioactive materials whatsoever. Only just, well, there's some. I mean, you can't escape all of it here, but it reduced, drastically reduced. And I've got another comparison I can show you later on for the radioactivity footprint. It's not important here, but later on I'll show you something else. So anyways, yeah, that became the new goal. In addition to no power shards, I wanted everything running at 100% efficiency, and for the nuclear items, I wanted 1-to-1 usage with minimal accumulation. You know, as much as I could bring it down here. So 100% efficiency here, and basically the way this runs. So you always have to have at least 2 stacks in total in the end. It's taking in the encased fuel rods, and by the time it approaches 200, it will have completed construction of this one. And the 200 gets knocked down to the 100, and because it still has a 100 left to go, it continues producing and there's no idle, and it stays at 100% efficiency. All the machines, 100%. And so this makes the uranium fuel rods, which are then getting distributed to 96 nuclear power plants. Now, these are all running at 100% efficiency, but they're slightly underclocked, ever so slightly. And the thing was, it came out to like 92.3 or some like uneven, number. So for load balancing purposes, I bumped it up to 96, so I could make 3 groups of 32 refineries. Downclocked them ever so slightly to make up for the the extra fuel rods that are not there, and then so we do a little clever math and splitting and load balancing here. All of the uranium waste comes up here. So from each of the 3 banks of 32, I am taking 1 belt, comes up here, and this is a mess, but it does the job. Basically, this is doing a 75-25% split. Takes each of the 3 belts, divides them, so 75% of each belt goes one way, 25% of each belt goes the other way. The 75% gets used by the non-fissile uranium production here at a 1-to-1 ratio, and then the extra 25% goes up here to the particle accelerators, making the actual what do we get? Plutonium pellets in here, right? Right, plutonium pellets. And you see how effective this is? I can like just hang out like right here, and look how minimal the radiation is while I'm just hanging out with these, the non-fissile and the uranium waste going by. I mean, it does get stronger as you go along. Like here, the more plutonium you have around, the more intense it gets. It really is. And it doesn't show you, you can't see it every single second because they come out in spurts and waves. But even down here, they're still in production. It's got enough to keep flowing, 100% efficiency. And, I'm sitting on top of the machine, and I'm barely a third, of my radiation level here. And then what happens? Then these go down here. And this is where they're actually becoming, and here is where the radioactivity definitely is spiking back up again. Evenly distributed. They're being used nearly 1-to-1 ratio, 100% efficiency. And by the time this cracks 60, it's going to be done with this, and these then get dumped into the sink. And this worked great. This was fantastic, and I was basically starting to rebuild with no worries about power whatsoever. But I was just getting really, really, really sick. And in fact, let's get to where that part comes up. Hold on. Hello, how are you? Thank you. Bye. Oh, yeah, really quickly about this. So, Yes, I'm a mega belter. Like I said, I brought in everything, all the raw resources needed to make 100% of those materials within this mega factory, and it's all being belted in. And this was okay. It was good, not great. But yeah, you can see my belts reaching off into the distance there, and that's something I still kind of still do. But anyways, we'll get to that too. Hold the line. Actually, why am I doing this this way? Hold on. I built transportation for this. Like, better transportation. So even the fly function gives you like 110 kilometers per hour. And it's still a little slow side for crossing the map. So let me, hold on. We're going to turn off fly. We're going to put on a parachute. And let's even, hold on, let's turn off the fog for this. Okay, fog off. Let's take a little cannon flight here. So this is mostly aimed to bring me back to my primary factory. And so, that was the new battery blaster. I rebuilt that. So that was making the 780 batteries per minute, which was fueling the drones to fly in the uranium. And in the distance, that's where I tore down, because I started trying to start a new plastic factory. I gave up on that. We'll talk about those mega blueprint designers later. So anyways, back to the main factory. Alright, switching to jetpack. Controlling landing. Yeah. Alright, so, and we're nearing the end of this portion of the tour. So, it's very, very difficult in this game to, oops, how did I do that? Oh, it doesn't matter. To avoid the spaghetti, you know? It's just, this was my biggest mess. This is my most spaghetti. Yeah, it's, I got to a point, I didn't even want to tear it down and rebuild it. I mean, I wanted to rebuild it, but I just like, it's like this all over, you know, but this is the worst part of it. You just slap things down here and there, you know, very ad hoc, and, you know, it starts off like, I'm just going to do this temporarily, and then, you know, like, hours have gone by. And so this is where I really reached my breaking point, that I was just tired of this. Worked well for a time, but had to go away, and I was working on things. Where was I again? Oh, that's right. February 2023, nigh 1,800 hours. So, super quickly, here is the map as it had gotten to. Yeah, just about 4 years, pushing, you know, 1,800-ish hours at this stage. Here is my main factory down here. This is Cat Town, was still up and running for a very long time there. Failed attempt to rebuild my original plastic factory, which actually got rebuilt over here. So this was making 1,500 each plastic and rubber per minute. This is a battery factory here. This is making a solid belt of 780 batteries per minute, which is basically for the drones up here. Stop that. Powering Nuketown. So, you know, here's the, you know, the turbo fuel factories. Here's the main non-reactive production. Here's the reactor production. And here's the actual field of reactors themselves. This was a failed iron and copper factory, mega factory I was going to start building, and it just, I was getting so unhappy with everything. So using our good friend Satisfactory calculator, basically I took it all apart. Now, there was definitely some strategy involved in this as well. Here and here. Nope, sorry. Here and here. I'm trying to keep my things straight here. This area and this area is where my original nuclear plants were. So there's 6 over here and there's 6 over here with their construction and nuclear waste processing. And as well as this over here. It's like I was going to do a mass dismantle, but there's still going to be, even though I was trying to minimize it, there's still a massive amount of radioactive material. Now the thing is with the Satisfactory calculator, it takes everything that you've got that you mass dismantle and dumps it in chests at your feet. You know, wherever your character happens to be saved, standing, you know, at that moment, you have the option, of course, to recover everything. And this is the thing, is I wasn't simply going to restart the game. I don't want to do that. I'd had a lot of power shards built into the main factory. This whole main factory down here, very, very inefficient. Oh my god, it's so bad. Everything is overclocked absurdly. I can't run the whole thing at once because it just starts starving out different, you know, sections of the factory. And I just didn't want to go and hunt for all those slugs all over again. I did not want to have to do all the MAM research and all the tier unlocking all over again. And I did not want to have to go and hunt all over the map and get all the hard drives for, you know, to unlock all the alternate recipes all over again. That stuff took a long time to get done, and I wanted to keep it. So I used this to make a mass dismantle and recover everything. The thing was, I had to do it in a couple of stages, because I didn't want the leftover nuclear materials to get dropped in the mega pile that that would get created. So I would have to, basically what I did is I had to select an area, and I knew I was going to start by rebuilding Nuketown with a whole new strategy, and that'll be for next video. But I needed to be in this general vicinity, so I went out here to this little section here, stood there, saved, exited the game, loaded this map up, and then just did select dismantles, so that everything that was here in these areas would get deposited in this area way off to the side over here, and it could be as radioactive as it wants, and it actually still is. We'll get there. So then I did that. And then I reloaded the game, loaded up that new save with those items there, moved my character just a little bit, just over here, and, oh, thank you very much, storm warning, I think, resaved, so now I had all that radioactive stuff in chests out here, but I moved the Pioneer over here, resaved, exited, then I did the mass dismantle. So we went from all this mess to this. And would you believe Satisfactory calculator works a lot faster? Yep. So you can see over here, here's the 2 piles of chests that I left. And that was something by itself. We'll get there. So, and actually it's interesting. I never noticed, there is absolutely nuclear material. Like, look there's 400 encased uranium cells in this chest I'm hovering over right now. It is not displaying the radioactivity, but I don't believe the chests shield the radioactivity. That's interesting. And I did verify. Yeah, no, the setting is on. It should otherwise be displaying the radioactivity. But anyways, continuing. Grassy fields in its original pristine state. I hadn't seen it in so long, I almost forgot what it looked like. Literally, like 3.5 years had gone by. And I just slapped so much stuff on top of it. Yep, forgot what it even looked like. The whole world reverted back. All my derpiness gone. And honestly, it was a huge relief. I didn't even care I'm basically rebuilding everything from scratch. Yes, I know I'm flying. Oh, so a couple little side notes about the mass dismantle. It left the hub here, and it was a while actually before I even noticed it was missing. And I had added in a mod, and it's one of the mods that that actually make you unlock something, which I actually really appreciate. That counts for a lot for me. And I'm like, wait a second, where's my hub? So I tried to build the hub. I just figured it had been dismantled with everything else, and it tells me, well, there's already a hub. And it's like, well, where was it? It got left here. The mass dismantle did not dismantle it. Also, my statues are AWOL. I'd spent coupons on... I'd basically gotten all but the golden nut statue, because that one's very expensive. But I had all the other statues, and the mass mantle took them, but they weren't in any of the chests. There still might be some chests. And they might be in some of the chests that I still haven't gone through because of the radioactivity yet. Because basically I just got to, devise a proper way to dispose of that without throwing off the balance of everything I've built so far. So we'll get to that, but if those are permanently gone, I might be a little upset, and I might just have to break down and just respawn them in. I really don't like item duping or spawning, materials and items that I didn't, do for myself. I am very judicious with my mods and cheats. I really am. I am not adverse to them, but, I try to, maintain things as... I don't like to disrupt core gameplay too much, he said as he flies around at 100 kilometers an hour. What I'm getting to right now is I'm basically going to the area where I did deposit everything here, and it was just so gorgeous. Oh yeah, another thing I had to do was I had to regenerate all the flora. I mean, it's not like there was, it was all gone or anything, but there were definitely huge patches where I just removed everything and I wanted it all back. And I think it was perfectly reasonable gameplay-wise to say the trees grew back. And as far as like any of the mods that I use, to me, I just simply roleplay them that our Pioneer, having been left on her own for so long, has had to come up and develop her own technological solutions for things like flight and other stuff. Anyways, so let me just hurry up and zip a little further along. Zip, zip, zippity, zipping. Oh, that's right. Okay, so I was not expecting... I was expecting something like this, but not quite like this. So, after dismantling an entire world, 3 years, 1,800 hours of, building messily, haphazardly, the Satisfactory calculator puts everything in normal sized chests. So it's, they're not using any, it's not any great expanded amount of inventory. And I think there was like 400 or something of them. Some absurd number. Hold on, maybe the map can tell me. Yep, 398. 398 chests. So, anyways, not all of them are here. Some of them are off to the side. In fact, let's go take a quick look at those. Curious about that radiation thing now. I just hadn't even noticed that they don't show up as radioactive on the map. Yeah, they're down here. And yes, they are absolutely radioactive. No, there's a lot of, stuff in there. Now, I didn't float these. That's just simply how the calculator deposited them. There's lots of non-radioactive stuff here, but, it's just everything from those nuclear power plants got scooped up and radioactive or not, here they are. I'm just taking a quick look. I want to see if any of my statues got dropped in any of these. they weren't in the areas where these came from, though, so I don't think so. I think those are gone, and I'm really rather bummed about that. Oh, well, neither here nor there. So anyways, all right, folks, I think that's going to do this video for now. We will pick it up again in the next video, and we'll give the fast forward, such as it is, tour of what rebuilding was like, and bring you up to speed on where I'm at currently. So, and yep. Anyways, folks, if you actually watch this whole thing, wow. No, seriously, no, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found some things useful or interesting. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm necessarily back, but yeah, I just been hankering to do some a couple of these videos, and I just finally got around to doing one of them. So, anyways, until next time, as always, stay healthy and take care out there.